Hello everybody, Daniel here. I'm back to do Pokemon of the Week. I first of all want to say thank you again to Mark, otherwise known as Thunder18, for his contribution. I threw a Word document at him, or a notepad file as well, with what I would say, and he articulated it very well, especially as he was trying to interpret British twang with an incredibly generic American accent. Anyway, the Pokemon this week is a Pokemon that's somewhat relatable to the fact that Christmas is soon. And as a result, I slightly changed my Pokemon of the Week number generator order to get Regice on the closest slot to Christmas. Being pure Ice type, it is really not very good type-wise on the defensive front, which is a shame because we'll get to its base stats in a few moments. Being pure ice like Glalie, it is resistant to ice and ice only, but it has 4 weaknesses. Stealth Rock being a big problem, as well as fighting fire and steel. It has no immunities, but just like Glalie, it is also in the NU tier. But it is a lot more commonly used than Glalie, as we shall explain further later on as well. It has 2 abilities, but again you only see one of them, because Ice Body is an ability that grants you more HP recovery in a turn if Hail is in effect, and Hail is illegal through the route of Snow Warning in NU, so you will never see Hail. As a result, every Regice you come across will run Clear Body, an ability that prevents Regice from having any of its stats dropped. It is actually a very good ability for a defensive-minded Pokemon. Looking at its base stats, it's Caviar and Cabbage mostly, only its HP is in the average department with base 80, but its defense and special attack are quite large at base 100, but they pale in comparison to the base 200 special defense, which would be very impressive on any Pokemon that wasn't just resistant to its own type. It is incredibly slow and has very little physical attacking power either. The first set of 3, as ever, is the set known as Paralyze All the Things. It is the most common set, and being pure Ice type has 1 use, and in that 1 use is that ground types will not switch into you, which means you can use Thunder Wave pretty much with impunity, knowing that you will hit whatever comes in. There are obviously a few notable exceptions in the NU tier, but there aren't many. Thunder Wave is 100% accurate as well, just to bear in mind. It's not 75 like Will-O-Wisp, so it is a very reliable status inflicting move to have. It does allow Regice to then outspeed said Pokemon that is paralysed, and it can use either one of 2 attacking moves, the 2 moves forming the well regarded Bolt Beam combination. Just to quickly explain to people who don't know what Bolt Beam is, the combination of Ice Beam and Thunderbolt provide an incredibly good type coverage. It's why a lot of very common electric type Pokemon run Hidden Power Ice. Many of them can't learn Ice Beam, but they have to run Hidden Power Ice to make very good coverage. The way that this set does its real thing though, is that it has Rest combined with a Chesto Berry. That means the first time you go to sleep, it will instantly wake up, meaning you get your full HP and status recovery effectively for free. The reason not to use a Lumberry is very simple, because, for example, if you get burned from an attack while your HP is slowly going down, the Lumberry will go into effect and work immediately. You don't want that to happen. You want to make sure it only heals your sleep. So that is why you don't want a more versatile berry. Very important thing to note here though, do not run 252 HP EVs. It's very tempting, but it is not the correct play, simply because if you do, you will have a HP stat that is divisible by 4, and as a result you will be able to take 1 Stealth Rock less, and being a very defensive Pokemon, being able to switch into entry hazards is very important, especially as Regice is weak to Stealth Rock as mentioned earlier. I would run Modest. It's tempting to run Calm, but I would run Modest because you need to be able to hit reasonably hard, otherwise you're just going to annoy the opposition by paralysing them and not making the most of it. The second set is the set you use when you want to try and go in a tier above the one you're normally going to be residing in. The Choice Spec set is pretty rare in RU, but it does have certain uses. Its major downside is that all 4 of its moves, with the exception of Ice Beam, tend to be absorbed or are a type that is a possible immunity for several of the Pokemon you're going to be hitting. Thunderbolt, for example, is absorbed by Lantern in RU, a Pokemon which will completely ruin your day unless you use Hidden Power. Ice Beam is obviously a move of choice. Hail's not going to be in effect, so don't risk running Blizzard. It's not worth the power difference to lose the accuracy. Focus Blast is an interesting choice because it does hit all the steel types, which you would really not do too much work against otherwise, but bear in mind it has got a pathetic 70% accuracy, so don't rely on it too much. Hidden Power Ground can cover steel types as well, so bear that in mind. Don't use this Pokemon as a sweeper in its own right, because even with 84 speed EVs, which are recommended so it doesn't get stuck with the other very slow Pokemon that can crush you, Crushed Ice, see what I did there, 84 EVs all the same will still make it very slow. This is just to break walls and to gouge giant holes in the opposition and switch out probably a turn later. It is not a weakness to switch out, and you will have to switch out a lot with this set. The IVs there are for grass on the left, in the green, and ground on the right in the sort of orangey brown colour. The third set is something that I really devised, although it is a set that's not too imaginative, not too much imagination has been applied to it. As we know, Regice is very slow, so the way to get around that is to use Rock Polish. Rock Polish doubles the speed the first time you use it and triples it after the second. But do note, as I put on the slide, that at +2 Regice is still going to be outsped by almost all Choice Scarf users. The key one to bear in mind is that Choice Scarf Sork is quite common, and that will definitely outspeed you at +2 and kill you in one hit with close combat. So you need to make sure you get 2 Rock Polishes off if you're going to guarantee a outspeed on someone, exceptions being priority moves obviously. You want to use your Bolt Beam coverage, and I would recommend Focus Blast as your third attack. You can use one of the hidden powers mentioned in set 2, but I would fully recommend going to the third option, going for Focus Blast. It is just much more powerful and can hit the Pokemon in NU such as Mawile much more strongly. A Pokemon that actually has the potential to stat up on you, so you have to be careful as well. Your EVs are pretty obvious if you're going for a special sweeper. You need the maximum speed you can get within reason. I would still recommend Modest over Timid because it's less efficient to go for Timid, plus the Pokemon you outspeed at +2 by gaining that small amount of speed from the nature is very insignificant. You're much better off just going to +4 if possible if you're really worried about speed. Clear Body does come into its own really in that regard, because your special attack and your speed can't be lowered by anybody else, so any attack that does those effects just don't do anything on Regice, so that's one thing. The item of choice is probably going to be an Expert Belt, simply because the Expert Belt gives you more power from super effective hits, and Bolt Beam as a combination will grant you many of those. It's not necessarily a bad thing though to go for like a Life Orb, but I would like to upplay the fact that even with no investment, Regice's defense is reasonably good. So maximising its ability to take hits while giving them out is probably the best way to go. Anyway, I appreciate you watching this. I hope you have a Merry Christmas if you believe in such a thing. If you don't, just enjoy the time of the year and the inevitable Boxing Day sales. Peace out, everybody. If you enjoyed the video you've just seen, please join my Facebook group and follow me on Twitter for the latest news.